Chosen one, this message didn't find you by accident. God led you here for a reason. There's something deep in your spirit that's been wrestling with confusion, lost and unanswered questions. You've been asking why certain people walked away, why certain relationships fell apart, and why God allowed distance between you and those you once held close. But hear this truth. God didn't remove them to hurt you. He removed them to protect you. He saw what you couldn't. He heard conversations you weren't in. He knew their heart, when all you could see was their smile. What you call rejection was divine redirection. Let's break this down deeply, step by step. Before we dive deep, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, because this message isn't just another video. It's a divine confirmation straight from heaven for the chosen ones. And to everyone who's been supporting through super thanks, God bless you richly. Your faithfulness, your love, and your energy don't go unnoticed. You're part of this divine movement, and I thank God for your presence. If your spirit feels this frequency, type 77 in the comments right now. That number isn't just symbolic. It's a sacred signal to the Most High that you're ready to release what no longer serves you, ready to accept what God is aligning for you, ready to walk in peace after the storm of separation. Not everyone will make it to the end of this message. Only those who are truly chosen, those whose hearts are prepared to understand why God had to remove certain people from their lives, because this word will bring closure, peace, and revelation. This isn't something you hear once and move on from. This is a living word, a spiritual blueprint that unfolds in layers. Watch it again whenever your spirit leads you, because each time you do, another piece of divine understanding will rise within you. God removed them because they would have ruined your destiny, and today you'll finally see why. Let's dive in. Chapter 1, the Divine Dismantling, Chosen One. When God begins to move you toward destiny, He starts by dismantling everything that doesn't align with where you're going. It's not punishment, it's divine preparation. You may not have realized it at the time, but heaven was doing construction in your life. God was tearing down weak foundations so He could rebuild something unshakable within you. Every separation, every disappointment, every ending was not random. It was strategic. Some of the people who started the journey with you couldn't survive where you're headed. Their motives weren't pure, their hearts weren't steady, and their energy couldn't handle the altitude of your next level. You were asking God for elevation, but you didn't understand that elevation requires elimination. He had to prune your circle before He could promote your calling. You didn't lose them by mistake. Heaven scheduled their exit right on time. You see, God doesn't just bless you. He also builds boundaries around you. A true blessing without protection becomes a burden. That's why before God releases His glory, He cleans your environment. When you prayed for growth, He began cutting ties. When you prayed for peace, He began removing the sources of chaos. When you prayed for clarity, He started exposing the confusion around you. You thought things were falling apart, but in truth, God was pulling things together behind the scenes. What looked like betrayal was actually a rescue mission. What felt like rejection was really divine redirection. When certain relationships started to crumble, you didn't see that God was intervening to keep your heart safe. He saw the conversations you didn't hear. He saw the envy that was hiding behind compliments. He saw the deception behind their smiles, and because you're chosen, because your purpose carries weight, He refused to let that energy contaminate your assignment. Sometimes the dismantling hurts. You wonder why people change, why love turns cold, why loyalty fades. But if God allowed everyone to stay, your spirit would stay stuck in places your destiny has already outgrown. You can't carry the same people into a higher level of purpose. Not everyone who celebrates you can handle your calling. Not everyone who claps for you can handle your crown. God knows who can walk with you and who will walk on you. He knows whose presence strengthens your faith and whose presence weakens your focus. Every divine disconnection is heaven's way of protecting your spiritual ecosystem. When He removes, it's not rejection, it's redirection. Chosen one, understand this. God's dismantling is not destruction. It's construction in disguise. He's stripping away the unnecessary so he can strengthen what's eternal. Every removal is making room for revelation. Every ending is setting the stage for your elevation. So don't fight the dismantling. Don't mourn what God has already moved. Trust that He knows what He's doing. He's building something sacred, something solid, something supernatural. You didn't lose, He upgraded you. What you called a breakdown was really a divine cleanup. God was clearing the path for the version of you that's about to walk fully into destiny. Chapter 2. The Hidden Mercy in Removal Chosen. 1. God's mercy doesn't always come wrapped in comfort. It often comes disguised as separation. We think mercy means miracles, blessings, and answered prayers, but sometimes mercy means God closing doors we begged Him to keep open. It means Him taking people out of your life before they take you out of alignment. It means protecting you from situations that your heart desired, but your destiny could not survive. You cried over the loss, but heaven rejoiced over the rescue. You were emotionally attached, but God was spiritually aware. You didn't know what He knew. You didn't see what He saw. God watched the private intentions you couldn't perceive. He heard the hidden conversations that never reached your ears. He felt the envy behind their laughter, the deceit behind their kindness, and the manipulation behind their concern. And because He loves you too much to let poison dwell in your purpose, He removed them quietly, strategically, and completely. The person who said all the right things in front of you was secretly planting seeds of doubt behind you. The friend who acted loyal was feeding your enemies information. The one who claimed to care for you was secretly competing with you. The person who said they loved you was never praying for you. They were only pretending to protect you while planning your downfall. So God stepped in. He disrupted connections that were comfortable but deadly. He interrupted attachments that looked divine but were demonic in disguise. He pulled you away from people who looked like peace but carried poison in their presence. Sometimes the greatest blessing is an unanswered text, a blocked number, or a sudden silence. You thought they ghosted you, but in reality God shielded you. You thought they abandoned you, but heaven intervened. You saw absence, but God saw protection. What felt like rejection was really redirection. What felt like loss was really liberation. God knew that if they stayed, their influence would have slowly destroyed your vision, your confidence, and your spiritual discernment. Chosen one, God's mercy will sometimes break your heart before it heals your life. It will hurt before it helps. You'll weep before you witness the wisdom in it. He knew that keeping them around would cost you your peace, your focus, and your fire. So He cut the cord, because what you were clinging to was never meant to go with you into your next chapter. Some people were only lessons, not lifetimes. Every goodbye that broke your heart was actually God's hand guiding you toward destiny. Every closed door was protection from premature destruction. You may not understand it now, but one day you'll look back and realize it was mercy all along. His removal wasn't rejection, it was redemption. It wasn't loss, it was love in disguise. God's mercy didn't fail you, it saved you. And one day, when you see what He was truly saving you from, you'll thank Him for every exit that didn't make sense. Chapter 3. God exposed the counterfeit's chosen one. Not everyone who enters your life is sent by God. Some are sent by distraction, others by deception, and a few by assignment from the enemy to delay your destiny. The enemy studies your heart just as God does. He knows what kind of people you're drawn to. So he sends imitations to look, sound, and act like what you've been praying for. But God, in His mercy, won't allow the counterfeit to remain hidden for long before the real can come. The fake must be exposed. That's why you started seeing the truth surface out of nowhere. That's why certain people began revealing sides of themselves you never imagined. That wasn't coincidence, it was revelation. You prayed for discernment, and God answered by shaking your circle. He began to uncover hearts, reveal motives, and expose hidden agendas. The same people who were smiling in your face were secretly speaking against your name. You felt the sudden shift, the awkward energy, the strange silence, the unspoken tension. That was your spirit picking up on what your eyes couldn't see. God was answering your prayer, not by giving you confirmation through words, but through revelation in behavior. Your anointing began to irritate the spirits that were never aligned with your purpose. They couldn't hide anymore, because your light made their shadows visible. Their intentions couldn't survive your purity. Their jealousy couldn't coexist with your growth. The more you evolved, the more uncomfortable they became. It wasn't that you changed, it's that your elevation exposed their true vibration. They weren't built to handle the version of you that God was awakening, so when they left, don't chase them. Thank God for the exposure. When people walk away after truth is revealed, let them go gracefully. God exposed them not to embarrass you, but to educate you. He wanted you to see that not everyone who has access deserves your trust. Some people came to drain your energy, distort your focus, and delay your destiny. They were sent to look like a blessing, but operate like a burden. God saw it long before you did, and in His mercy, He turned on the spiritual light. The counterfeit always comes before the covenant. Before you meet the genuine, you must first confront the fake. Every false friend, manipulative connection, and draining relationship was a classroom for your discernment. They taught you how to recognize authenticity, how to protect your spirit, and how to trust your intuition. God allowed those encounters not to break you, but to build your sensitivity to truth. Now you can sense energy before words are even spoken. You can feel deception before it manifests. Chosen one, understand this. God exposes before He elevates. He reveals before He rewards. You cannot step into divine partnership, friendship, or purpose while still entertaining pretenders. Exposure is protection. It's heaven's way of clearing your environment so that when the real arrives, you'll recognize it instantly. Don't be bitter about who got revealed. Be grateful that you didn't waste more time. The exposure was evidence that your frequency has shifted, that your discernment has matured, and that your destiny has outgrown deception. God's revelation may have hurt, but it healed you from future heartbreak. Chapter 4, Isolation is God's elevation. Chosen one, when God removes people, He often leaves you alone, not to punish you, but to position you. You've been wondering why you suddenly feel isolated, why the phone stopped ringing, why the crowd that once surrounded you slowly disappeared. It wasn't rejection, it was divine redirection. When God separates you, it's because He's preparing you. You're not being abandoned. You're being anointed in secret. You see, you can't become who you're called to be while still entertaining who you were. Transformation doesn't happen in the crowd. It happens in the quiet. Isolation is the divine womb where identity is reborn. It's where your character is refined, your voice grows louder, and your vision becomes clearer. It's in solitude that God can finally get your full attention without the noise of opinions, distractions, or attachments. What felt like everyone walking away was actually God clearing the room so He could speak to you directly. In isolation, God starts to reveal who you truly are. He removes the labels people placed on you and restores your spiritual identity. You begin to see yourself through His eyes, not through the distorted lenses of the world. It's where your spirit gets rebuilt, your confidence gets renewed, and your faith becomes unshakable. The silence that used to scare you becomes sacred ground because that's where you learn to hear heaven clearly. Chosen one, understand that isolation is not exile, it's elevation. God hides His greatest warriors before He launches them. Just like David tended sheep before facing Goliath, and Joseph sat in prison before ruling a nation, you too are being prepared in private for a public purpose. What looks like delay is actually divine development. God is shaping your heart, sharpening your discernment, and strengthening your spirit for the next level. So don't despise this season of separation. Don't fill your silence with noise or try to reconnect with what God already disconnected. He's performing spiritual surgery on your soul, cutting away old attachments, false identities, and toxic patterns. Every person who left, every plan that failed, every door that closed, was part of God's method to isolate your anointing from contamination. You're being purified in purpose. This isolation isn't emptiness, it's incubation. God is planting new vision, new wisdom, and new revelation within you. You are being hidden, so that when you emerge, you'll be unrecognizable to those who only knew your former self. The old you was visible, but the new you will be powerful. The same people who overlooked you will soon have to watch you operate in divine authority. What feels like loneliness is actually protection in disguise. You're being covered while you're being cultivated. God doesn't want your anointing exposed too soon. Premature exposure can destroy divine potential. That's why He's keeping you in a quiet place, because what He's building in you is too great to be rushed. Chosen one, embrace your solitude. Cherish the stillness. There's purpose in your isolation and promotion in your preparation. The crowd may have vanished, but heaven is watching. The silence isn't empty, it's sacred. You are being elevated privately so that when your time comes, your rise will be undeniable and unstoppable. Chapter 5. Their exit created your expansion, chosen one. Some doors only open after certain people leave. There are seasons where God will not move until you do. You were praying for increase, but He was waiting for release. Some blessings were being blocked by your own loyalty to people and places that could not handle your destiny. God couldn't release certain opportunities until you let go of who was holding you back. You were carrying connections that were too heavy for your next level, and heaven knew that the weight of those attachments would crush your wings if He didn't intervene. It's not that those people were all evil. Some of them were just expired. Their season in your story had served its purpose. But because your heart is loyal and loving, you kept trying to revive relationships that God had already buried. You didn't realize that by holding on to them, you were unknowingly delaying your own breakthrough. So God allowed their exit. He closed the door for you when you didn't have the strength to close it yourself. After they left, you started to notice your peace returned. The anxiety faded, the confusion cleared. Your focus sharpened, your spirit felt lighter. That wasn't random, it was evidence. Their presence had become a spiritual weight, and once they exited, heaven could finally release what had been delayed. What you called loss was really spiritual subtraction for divine multiplication. When they walked out, the atmosphere around you shifted, and suddenly the same prayers that once felt unanswered began unfolding with ease. Chosen one, sometimes your next level can't manifest until certain energies are no longer in your environment. You can't grow in a garden full of weeds. You can't fly in an atmosphere full of fear. God had to prune your life to make room for new growth. He had to remove what was draining you, so He could replace it with what would develop you. The pruning hurt, but it was necessary. You asked for growth. He answered with a cut. Because without pruning, even healthy branches can become unfruitful. Every removal was a setup for expansion. The moment you stopped begging for their attention, heaven began pouring out favor. The moment you stopped chasing validation, divine opportunities started finding you. God was waiting for you to make space, and once you finally let go, He began to fill every empty place with something greater. The people you lost were never your source. They were only vessels for a season. God had to remove them so He could reveal Himself as your provider, your protector, and your promoter. You see, chosen one, expansion doesn't happen in comfort. It happens through release. Sometimes the people who once celebrated you can't comprehend the level you're evolving into. Their words, once encouraging, start sounding small. Their energy, once uplifting, becomes draining. That's your sign that their time is up. Because when your destiny demands elevation, God will not allow you to stay surrounded by limitation. Some doors require less company, not more. You were never meant to take the whole crowd into your calling. The smaller your circle becomes, the larger your impact will grow. Chapter 6. What they meant for evil, God used for good. Chosen one. Some people were not sent to love you. They were sent to test you. Some came into your life not as blessings, but as divine lessons. God saw what they would do before you ever met them. Yet He still allowed them in, not to destroy you, but to develop you. Just like Judas played a role in Jesus' destiny, there were people who had to betray you to push you into your purpose. The betrayal wasn't a mistake. It was a move in God's master plan. What they meant for evil, God used for your good. Yes, it hurt. The lies, the backstabbing, the rejection, it all felt personal. But behind that pain was divine purpose. You wouldn't have sought God the way you do now if everything had stayed comfortable. You wouldn't have discovered your strength if they hadn't tried to break you. The betrayal became your awakening. The heartbreak became your healing. The pain that once felt like it was killing you was actually birthing a new level of power within you. They thought they were ruining you, but they were revealing you. They exposed what was weak in you so that God could make it strong. They forced you to grow, to rise, and to see who you really are. Chosen one, sometimes it takes being thrown into the fire for the gold inside you to shine. You didn't lose. You learned. You didn't fall. You were forged. You didn't get rejected. You were redirected. Their cruelty became your classroom. Their betrayal became your breakthrough. Understand this. Every attack that came against you had permission from heaven. The enemy can only move within divine boundaries. God allowed the betrayal because it carried a hidden blessing. Without Judas, there would have been no cross. Without the cross, there would have been no resurrection. Likewise, without the betrayal, you would have never reached the level of spiritual authority you now carry. You had to go through the pain so you could outgrow the people. Never curse the one who walked away. Never resent the one who betrayed you. They were instruments in the symphony of your transformation. God used their actions to push you into isolation, where He could refine your heart and refocus your vision. What they took from you, God is restoring in ways they'll never comprehend. What they broke, heaven is rebuilding, stronger and more beautiful than before. Bless those who hurt you, because they unknowingly became the bridge to your breakthrough. If they hadn't walked away, you would still be stuck in cycles of confusion. If they hadn't exposed themselves, you'd still be surrounded by snakes in disguise. If they hadn't betrayed you, you'd still be trying to please people who secretly envied your light. Their exit was painful, but it was also prophetic. It marked the moment you stepped into clarity, purpose, and divine elevation. Chosen one, you're living proof that God can take what was meant to destroy you and turn it into the very thing that defines you. Every betrayal became fuel for your faith. Every heartbreak purified your discernment. Every disappointment redirected your destiny. The enemy thought he was ending you, but God was only editing your story. Chapter 7. God's replacement is always greater. Chosen one. When God removes someone from your life, He never leaves a void. He creates space for something divine. Every subtraction in your story is preparation for a greater addition. He will send real love to replace false loyalty. He will send genuine supporters to replace silent saboteurs. He will send destiny partners to replace those who only came for what they could take. When God replaces, He doesn't give you back what you lost. He gives you better, greater, and purer. What you thought was the end was really a divine exchange. Heaven never takes without intention. Every removal has a redemptive purpose. That's why the people you thought you couldn't live without suddenly disappeared, because God saw what you couldn't. He saw their heart, their motives, and their hidden envy. And because He loves you too much to let your future be poisoned, He allowed them to walk away. What felt like rejection was actually divine redirection. Every loss will make sense when the replacement arrives. Every tear will feel worth it when you see the reason behind the pain. The delay was never denial, it was divine design. God doesn't just take, He transforms. He doesn't just remove, He restores. He doesn't just end chapters. He begins new ones that reveal His glory. The same space that once held pain will soon overflow with peace. The same heart that once ached with loss will soon beat with divine joy. Chosen one, trust His timing. You don't need to chase what left you, because what's coming is greater than what's gone. Stop trying to resurrect what God has buried. Stop mourning over what heaven has already moved on from. Some connections were divine for a season, but deadly for your destiny. Their season expired and your purpose demanded purity. They couldn't go where God is taking you, and that's okay. You were never meant to be surrounded. You were meant to be selected. Lift your head. The loss didn't break you, it built you. The empty space you feel is not abandonment, it's alignment. God is rearranging your circle, restructuring your foundation and restoring your heart. You're entering a season where replacements carry revelation. The people coming next will speak your language, see your value, and walk with vision. You won't have to question their loyalty or doubt their intentions. They will come with confirmation, not confusion. So thank God for every closed door, every silent goodbye, and every unexpected ending. They were all divine redirections to something greater, because if they had stayed, they would have drained you. But since God removed them, you're still standing, still growing, still rising, and becoming everything heaven designed you to be. The pain was temporary, but the replacement will be eternal. Remember this, chosen one, God never takes something from you without the intention to multiply it. His replacement will always be greater,